Jane! I just passed the supermarket and it's frozen into a solid block of ice.
Huh. I did think it was a little chilly out there. Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet-Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet-Dale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast for two queer trans women, that's us, with wifey types. Do have a bit of a catch-up about media we've consumed in the week.
Oh, and tasty media.
Do some silly voices and skits and
have
just a silly little catch-up.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm a sleepy little baby. Speaking of the yawn.
Yeah, I'm also a sleepy little bean. I've been busy with all sorts of nonsense.
You have so many plots and ploys and shenanigans.
Yeah, I got so many nonsenses going on, so many occurrences.
Nothing you can talk about.
No,
Tell us about some things you can talk about.
I can talk about things,
things
including...
you played, perhaps.
I mean, I've been playing one thing that by the time this goes up I'll be able to talk about. I've been playing that Lies of P.
Lies of P?
Yeah.
You mean the demo?
No, the actual game.
What?
Yeah, I've had a review copy of Lies of P for a little while now.
Yeah.
This is that Pinocchio Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Is the best way to pitch it. Pinocchio Bloodborne, kind of. Geppetto made puppets, which here more sort of means mechanical automatons, and then something went wrong, and now they're killing all of the humans, and they took control of a factory to make more of themselves. And you are Pinocchio, the puppet that will go save the day. And the thing that makes you special is puppets cannot lie, but you can lie. So you're capable of doing a thing other puppets can't do. And it's a Dark Souls.
Yes.
So there's a lot I like about this game. There was a really, pretty extensive demo for it that was released back in, I think, August, and that demo captures, a lot of the moments that I really like about this game. That game has a really good sense of, style and identity. It captures its weird, slightly surreal, pseudo-Victorian era, dark steampunky, cops are robots and are evil, little vibe it's got going on. All comes together very well. I like a lot of its atmosphere. The first couple of bosses really sort of try to encourage, maybe even more so than dodging, using perfect blocks to sort of, perfectly block attacks.
Oh, no. Timing.
Right. Well, see, the thing I kind of like about it is it incentivizes the block, in that if you just hold the block button and block an incoming attack, you'll take damage, but it won't be permanently taken damage.
Okay.
It's sort of like in Bloodborne, where if you take damage and then attack an enemy back, you can sort of gain that health back, and sort of encouraging you to play aggressively. This sort of does that with blocking. If you stay in close and block, you lose a bit of temporary health, but then you can sort of earn it back by attacking. It encourages you to sort of stay in close, play aggressively, and if you do manage to time the block perfectly, no temporary damage taken.
Nice.
Really good. The dodge was a little off in the demo. It feels a bit better to do the dodge now. My problem with this game, I've got a couple of problems with it.
Is it that one boss that you spent 3 hours trying to beat?
It's not even that necessarily, but first I'll say, I don't usually play dex builds in these kind of games. I don't usually play dexterity, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try this time, and I was really enjoying the starting dex weapon. And then 10 hours in, I still hadn't found another dex weapon.
Oh dear.
This game, is really bad at giving you, a variety of weapons to play around with in the early game, and particularly it seems to be really bad with dex. Dexterity, until you get far enough in to find... the first, good alternative dex weapon from the starting weapon I found was, I had to find the NPC that would let me trade in boss souls, and until then I had, no good secondary option. And it made me feel really like I was being very much punished for having committed to one of the 3 starting builds. It really doesn't feel like you have a good opportunity to go, it doesn't, and as a dex build, I didn't get given a strength weapon early on enough to go, I'll also put some levels into strength to try that out and see which I prefer. It's like, no, you pick Dex, you're going to be Dex for like the next 10 plus hours. Beyond that, the game has some difficulty spikes, and I don't mind that in a game like this, but I'm a little frustrated with the way that it handles those difficulty spikes, because those first couple of bosses really incentivize perfect blocks. And I usually don't like perfect block style gameplay in these kind of games, but I really enjoyed that. And then you get maybe like 3-4 bosses in, and you start getting bosses that have deliberately really fucking misleading timings to punish you for trying to do perfect blocks.
Oh dear.
And it's a real shame, because I was really enjoying, like, this attack. If you don't perfect block it right, it's gonna really fuck you up. But the telegraph is really clear, and the timing is really clear, and, like, if you want to go for it, you can learn the timing, and you will be rewarded for that. And then it starts going, haha, fuck you. We're deliberately tripping you up so that you're punished for trying to do that thing that you spent the first 10, 15 hours learning to be good at. Like, it feels like it's actively punishing you for, like, having put the time in to develop a certain skill. And it's weird. So I then, like... And there's a few times where I feel like the bosses are just... They just throw things at you to... how do I even put this? A good example. Not that... the boss that I was stuck on when I was playing when you were in the living room. The thing that's frustrating about that boss is it has an attack that covers all of the floor in fire unless you can get to a hiding place in time. And if you don't get to a hiding place in time, you are going to start taking very rapid, like, damage over time, ongoing damage. The problem is, there is no shopkeeper at that point in the game that I could find that sells the item that will, like, cure you of having the fire status effect on you. And there is no enemy that is, like, a clear one you can like, farm that item from.
Right.
And that meant that once I ran out of that item to, like, mitigate that problem, suddenly it's like, oh, if that effect hits me, I've just lost all my health. There's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
There's just, like, weird little things like that where it's, like, overly punishing in ways that don't feel like there's anything you can do to mitigate them as a player.
Right.
Like, I can see the wind-up for that. The whole floor is going to be covered in fire attack. And if I notice that wind-up, like, if that wind-up starts and I'm near the enemy because I've been poking and stabbing them, and I am just physically too far away from the hiding place to get there in time, there's not really much I can do. I started running as soon as the wind-up started. It was already too late. I'm already going to take that big damage.
Right.
Like, there's little things like that don't feel satisfying. And it's a shame, because 90% of the time I'm playing this, it feels really polished, really well put together, creative. 90% of the time I'm really enjoying it, until I hit a point where I'm just... It's not even that I'm not enjoying it moment to moment, it's that it feels like progression is being held away cheaply.
Right.
And that no matter what amount of learned skill I'm putting in, it's like, yeah, but if that one bullshit thing happens, like, your whole attempt's done, sorry about that. In a way that, like, it puts a real struggle on, like, feeling like you're progressing.
Right.
And it's not enough that I think this game is bad, but I think that it is a game that I definitely have to recommend with, like, a knowing caveat. Of, like, if you're the kind of person who will get, like, 6 hours into trying to fight one slightly bullshit boss, and be okay with that, maybe this is a game that's worth trying if you like this sort of game. If that's going to annoy you, there are better Souls games that will be less infuriating.
On the frustration level, where would you say this ranks compared to something like, say, Sekiro, which I heard here had some pretty bullshit bosses?
It's tricky to compare them. They're both similar in that sometimes there will be just one gimmick in a fight that feels unfair. Like, this fight generally feels like a fair fight, except for that one thing you do that if you took this out, it would still be a challenge, but it'd be one that I'd feel like I was in control of.
Right.
So, yeah, Lies of P, I wish it was an easier recommend.
It was more skill-based than just, yes, you've decided to do big hits in a way that I can't do anything about.
It's just I wish that I wish that they would sometimes avoid mechanics that feel like there is very little way to react to them.
Yeah.
Or to reliably react to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's not like, oh, the boss was in the wrong place when it did that wind-up, guess I'm fucked. What about you? What have you been playing this week?
Well, not necessarily this week, but there was one I put on the list last week and then completely forgot to mention. A game called Mindustry, or Mindustry.
Okay.
It's it appears to have originally been a mobile game. It tries to capture, like, you sort of Factorio with conveyor belts and things like that, but also being quite like a pixel arty, tower defense-y, resource gathering RTS. But it seems to like be in several parts. So you've got like a planet, or there's actually 2 planets, either in the mobile game or in the PC version, which was very cheap recently. Honestly, it does feel like a mobile game on PC, but it feels like the first part is all, okay, learn how to build basic defenses, how to gather certain basic resources, and then you're going to have like a number of waves attacking your base, and at the end of that, you have access to the whole map, and you can now go and get resources pretty much however you want. Which is good, although it doesn't sort of telegraph if at any point there's a chance that your bases are going to be, like, re-attacked at some point. Which makes it a bit difficult to say, well, how do I go about this now? Because I've got free access to the whole level, but if I tear down all my defences and start, feeding masses of conveyor belts to make sure I have a supply of XYZ particular item, is that necessarily the best idea or not? It's a bit hard to tell with that sort of thing. But there's also this whole concept of you're lifting your entire base off and moving to the next area when that comes.
Okay.
But you can only take so many resources with you depending on how far upgraded you've got your base.
Okay.
So it's like you're taking a limited thing, but also what you're taking is potentially quite a lot of the resources that you've only just acquired, like new things. You don't necessarily have a second or third way of preparing these at some other location.
Yeah.
Things like certain types of glass, silicon, and graphite, graphene are particularly annoying to have to keep making, but mainly that's because it doesn't have the intricacy of something like Factorio.
Yeah.
So you can't always necessarily control the way belts are moving, or the precise angle. You'll get a thing that will move you, like, over the top of something else, but before you know it, that's now distributing to, like, everything that is passing by it. You have to be careful about having belts passing by more than one side of a thing, because although it might be feeding stuff in, if it's also designed to be...
pull it out at the other end.
Yeah. So you don't have, like, a thing go in, thing go out. You have to, like, make sure you've given yourself an extra block of space.
Yeah, no, that's weird, yeah.
And you don't have, like, an underpass, but you do have a bridge thing, but the problem is the bridge thing, when it drops out the other side, it shoots blocks in whichever of 4 directions, so you can't have something directly next to it that is also feeding in, which is difficult when you start to get buildings that are like, okay, this needs 3 things to be fed into it to make a particular output of a certain type, and it gets a little bit faffy trying to work out designs for that.
Yeah.
The redeeming grace of that is that it does let you save schematics. So if there is something you are building, like, especially things like the pyrite mixer, which requires like 3 different items to be like shoved into the thing, and then it will have one output.
Yeah.
Like, just going, oh yeah, I designed the thing and it works, and it was a faff to organise in the first place, but it's okay, I can just like highlight it, copy it, save it to schematics, and then just pull it out later on. And that's quite nice. I have enjoyed that. Progressed, reasonably far through it. I don't know how much there is overall, but does seem to be like a whole, you're claiming this planet and encountering other people who seem to be doing the same thing. I don't know if they're supposed to be aliens, but they seem to have all the same ships and stuff as you, but they have access to it way earlier than you do. So,
Okay.
and there's like a whole unlocking a tech tree thing, and as you go along, you'll be like, ah, yes, I've now found titanium, which means I can grab a load of titanium and start using it to get like upgraded conveyor belts or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a nice low energy version of a lot of that sort of base building, resource movement, conveyance, logistics, I guess is the word I'm looking for there. I think it does that quite well in a nice cheap little package. And there are 2 worlds. I've done I think maybe half of the first one. I could be wrong. Apparently, the second world is overall harder, but generally considered to be more balanced, as it's not the one they were just throwing content in as they produced more of the game. So some levels can be a bit swingy compared to others. It's like, this was very much harder than the last one, or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, enjoying it so far, and yeah, it was a good price for it. I think it was under £4.
Nice.
Not bad. What about you? What have you been playing?
I've been playing Halls of Torment, which I don't think I'd talked about on this show last time we recorded.
And I think you did.
Yeah, so this is one you've talked about before. It's one of those vampire derivers.
Yeah.
This one, the big difference is that you're not picking up multiple weapons. You have your one character-specific weapon that you start with, and you're largely, when you leveling up that one weapon and its stats. But you can kind of get other weapons in the form of these scrolls that you get for defeating the mini-bosses, for the bosses that show up, or sometimes scattered around the level. And those are magic weapons that you can have up to 6 of.
Yeah.
So you could in theory have up to 7 weapons at once, but it's not designed to be you're doing that every run in the way that Vampire Survivors having your full complement of 6 weapons and accessories is.
Yeah, and also you don't get that many options to get those scrolls, so if you go for 6, you're probably not necessarily going to be upgrading the ones you've already got to the best of their abilities, because once you've upgraded one of those scroll weapons at least 3 times, there is a chance that there will be upgrades for a thing you've already got to make it more powerful. There's one that just throws out a whole mess of little floating shuriken.
Yep, all the sort of stars up and down.
Yeah, and if you get one of the power-ups for it, it's something along the lines of they will start to occasionally spit out extra ones themselves.
Yeah,
so overall there's more coverage.
Yeah, it's really fun. I've been enjoying it a lot. It's got that Vampire Survivors-esque thing of there is a difficulty curve where at first you are going to be doing the same one level over and over, trying to get over that hurdle to start getting those serious unlocks going and feeling a bit more competent, but yeah, I've been enjoying some of the characters I've unlocked. I've got sort of sword stabby melee character. I've got the archer. I've got the exterminator with the flamethrower, who I really enjoy. I've got the cleric, who is the glass cannon shotgun of a character with regen, which is interesting. I like the whole thing of being able to get treasure chests that have gear that you can equip to your character, and then being able to send stuff up the well to eventually purchase it to have in your starting loadouts.
That whole thing of do I keep this on me to have this run be better, or do I send it back so that I can buy it later and have that as a starting item?
Doing the thing where you're 20 plus minutes into a run and you kind of just hang out near the well doing your combat, so that you're I will hang on to this for as long as I can, but also, if it looks like I'm about to die, just go touch the well and send it. Just send it at the last second. I'm having a good time with it. It definitely shows up better on stream than Vampire Survivors in terms of playing nice with Twitch bitrate.
I don't know if it would be the same necessarily in agony mode, but in the standard play modes, I think it does very well. My chat seemed very happy with it the first time we played.
It's fun. It's been nice to have another good vampire derivers in my rotation.
I think it scratches that itch perfectly, because the number of them that you'll you'll have like your first run be 15 minutes long, and it's like, that's not quite the thing. I need the one where I last maybe 3 minutes, but also I constantly feel like I'm making progress.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't seem to quite capture that. I think this does really good.
It's up there with, I think the only other one that's like caught me quite as much is Bone Razor Minions. Bone Razor Minions is good. But yeah, it's nice to have another good one of these in rotation.
Yeah.
What about you? What you been playing this week?
Ooh, we played some more of the Hogs of War miniatures game.
We did.
So yeah, we've now done a good few. I don't think we talked about this last week.
I don't think we did last week, but we've talked about this game before. It's a sort of it's a war game, but you're little pig armies.
Yeah, so originally this derives from a PS1 game of What If Worms but 3D, and instead of worms it's pigs.
Yes.
And the concept was picked up by Stone Sword Games as we'll make it like a proper tabletop war game with like cut down. It's not going to be like full. Some of those war games that are like ridiculous. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a tough teach, and it's quite heavy going, but overall, very much enjoying it so far. Like, we haven't even finished playing through the campaign book, and we've been at it a little while now. We the last two missions we've done are the one where basically planes are free, and you have to keep deploying them constantly. But for every plane that gets shot down, your opponent will score a point, and if your opponent's landing airstrip takes any damage or is destroyed, it can't be rebuilt, and it's going to cost a fortune. And if at any point you cannot build another plane, then it is automatically game over for you.
Yeah.
And it was a nice way, because very often you don't get to engage with all of the core units in the game. And there is so much in that box. Like, you've got like 3 types of tanks.
Yeah.
You've got 4, is it? No, is it 6? I think it might actually be 6. It's 5 units, because you've got the engineers, the orderlies, the grunts, the snipers, the bombardier.
Yeah.
Then you've got the 3 vehicles, which are the actual tank, the aqua tank, and the armoured car.
Yes.
Then you've got 2 planes.
Yeah.
And an airship mini. And the airship is the other one that we played. That was this weekend. And that whole mechanic is, rather than paying for an individual unit, you are paying for cards, which can either be like the front of the airship, the back, or bits in the middle.
As many bits in the middle as you like.
So you can like drag out when you're going to deploy your airship, but it's going to costing you more and more money.
And it's going to be able to do more things and survive more hits, but it's going to take you longer to get it up and running.
Oh, yes.
And your ground units are probably going to suffer because you've invested less money in them because you're investing in the...
Absolutely, because those bits are not cheap.
No, they're not.
They're not. So, like, this one, rather than being like the aeroplane one, where it was like, cool, we're finally going to get to really dig into aeroplanes, and they have this whole weird mechanic about how they move. Like, you have to, like, specifically set them to turn left or right, and you can't sort of go directly from left to right or vice versa. You have to, like, have at least one round of centre, and you can only go one up or down one speed setting. Yeah. But at different speed settings, like, if you're going too fast or too slow, there's a potential of stalling, so you're rolling damage dice against yourself. But at certain speeds, you can't do a bombing run because you're going too fast, or you're losing accuracy because you're moving too fast, so you have to roll less dice when you're doing your normal attacks. But this game also has all these fascinating things with upgrades for all the different units. So it's like, okay, well, I've got all of these different upgrades. Some of them specifically apply to a particular class, but some of them are like for specialists only, or for like ground or air vehicles specifically.
Yeah.
The airships were fascinating. Yeah. Because you built like a 4-length one and a 3-length one, and I built one 7-length one.
Yes, so I built one that was, it wasn't the minimum size, it could be, but it was the minimum size where I would get some victory points for having built it at least a certain size. Yeah. And I went for like getting it out as quick as possible, because the sooner it was out, the sooner I was allowed to point score, and I sort of pushed aggressively on the ground level to be like earning points in the centre, while you built your big ship.
Yes.
And then I fucked up and misunderstood something, and you took out my airship. But then I was like, I'm gonna get my like the smallest airship possible, get it back in the air, and try and like use ground units, particularly those aqua tanks, to like blow your. My aim was to try and blow your airship out the air before the fact I'd made a small airship came into effect. And it was very close to the wire.
Oh, yes.
You won, but I very almost took it with my...
Several times that game swung wildly in different directions. Like, there was one where I'd, like, because I'd decided not to take the free airship building at the start of the game, thinking, well, that means I've got more income, because I'm not losing 2 income per turn in order to fund it, which means I can build, like, a nice, solid ground crew, and I'll set myself up nicely, and I did, and I took the centre, and I was all ready, I was like, okay, time to start moving on, and you got a trenches down, which meant you were able to forward deploy, and you just started banging out troops, wiped all but 3 people off of the map for me, and I was like, I'm fucked, I'm completely fucked, and I took one extra turn of just like, I'm just going to put some more people out. I'm not going to deploy my airship yet. I'm going to save the money and I'm going to build some more firepower into it. And I'm going to risk it.
Yeah, I didn't click that if you had multiple weapons on your airship, it could fire all of them in the same turn. And I didn't register the, I crash into you with my airship, I auto-destroy your airship.
Yeah, only with that one particular component.
Yes, my brain just hadn't taken that in, that was a possibility, and you just touched me and were like, yeah, you're dead. I was like, oh fuck.
Yep, I'm gonna do my range 1 thing, I'm gonna just poke you with my little needle on the front of my airship.
I course corrected, I got a plan together.
Yeah, you recovered way more quickly, and I was like, well, if this game runs much longer, I think I'm fucked. Because you were already ahead on points, because...
Yes.
You started being able to score points way earlier.
Well, my main thing was I wanted to, like, hold the centre long enough that if I destroyed your airship once, it would give me enough points to win in one go. That was my point, is if I got over, say, 6 points, I think it was, on the meter, I'm only going to have to destroy 1 airship from you when I win. At which point I was like, deploy all of my aqua tanks, which have their really good roll 4 blue dice against the airship. Dealing a lot of fire to you, so I was rolling exponentially more damage dice.
Yeah, that was really concerning for both of us, I think. Because I kept rolling fire against you, which meant that all I was doing was getting to roll more grey dice against you in the next round, but everything that kept coming out was just more fire.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to actually start doing some damage to you, please. But eventually that was exponential enough to actually take you down. But yeah, that was a really fun game, and I'm glad we got to engage with that whole airship mechanic. And as much as I am looking forward to the last couple of campaigns in this booklet, I am also kind of looking forward to, like, we'll just sit there and go, let's design a map for ourselves and stuff.
I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly enjoy this game enough that I did spend, like, a couple of days building a new insert for it.
Yeah.
So that we could fit all of the things, except for the neoprene mat, in the box. Yeah. Because it came with deluxe, I got the deluxe components for it, and it's just like, it's an extra box. What if we didn't have to deal with an extra box? So I took everything I learned from building that Spirit Island insert, and faffed about building one for this, and I think it works. I think it works okay.
I think you're getting real good at making your own little custom inserts.
Yeah, maybe Barrage next, because that's also a real faff to set up.
Yeah.
What about you? What else have you played?
I mean, the only other thing I've been playing that I can talk about, and I've not been playing a lot of it, is I've started replaying Pokémon Scarlet and Violet.
Why would you suddenly be back into this?
Yeah, so we're recording this on Tuesday, and at, like, 2 a.m. UK tonight, the first wave of DLC for Scarlet and Violet releases. The Teal Mask, I believe it's called, which had some new Pokemon and a bunch of returning old ones and some new narrative and legendary stuff and a new area. Some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, first of all, I'm excited. I want to get back in the Pokemon, mood. But also, it's been a while since I've shiny hunted in this game, and I was like, I want to remind myself of how to shiny hunt, because there's going to be a handful of new things to shiny hunt. but also I want to do some raids to try and get some Herba Mystica, which are one of the sandwich ingredients you need to do good shiny hunting. So I did a couple of shiny hunts. I made sandwiches off of memory. I was like, I think I remember how to make a sandwich that's going to give me boosted shiny odds. Don't remember what element type this is going to give me shiny odds for, but we'll find out when I make the sandwich. I did a couple of little shiny hunts, and that went fine.
Yeah.
And now I'm basically just doing a bunch of raids of Pokemon that have like higher than average Herba Mystica drop rates. But the problem is that this game's like jumping into a random raid online is just not very good.
Oh dear.
And it never has been. The whole deal is you connect online, and you are shown 8 random raids of random Pokemon from around the world.
Right.
You can't say, I want to look for raids of people raiding this specific Pokemon. It's just, here's 8 random raids.
It's not about the Pokemon, it's about the having fun with strangers.
Are any of them a Pokemon you're looking to do raids against? No? Well, you can't hit refresh and see a new 8 raids for about 2 minutes. You've got to wait for about 2 minutes before you're allowed to hit F5 and refresh the list to see 8 more raids that might... And even then, it's not even 8 like original Pokemon. It's usually going to be something like, okay, 3 of those 8 slots are taken up by whatever the special event raid of the moment is. So, like, at the moment, 3 of them are Mewtwo raids, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't need a Mewtwo raid. Can I opt out of seeing those in the random list and just see 8 other things? It's like, nope, no, you need to do our slow random process. And then even then, when one shows up that you do want to do, half the time you click on it, it's like, no, it's already full, because we showed this to a bunch of people and 3 people clicked it already.
That's what everyone else was waiting for as well.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, is the one that everyone wants to do shows up, and then it's like, yeah, let's all do it.
Sunny D, alright.
Yeah, so that's a shame, but I've been hanging out in some discords of people hosting raids to try and find some Herba Mystica raids, because I know that once that DLC drops tomorrow, everyone's going to be looking for Herba Mystica raids again, and it's going to be chaotic trying to find any. So, yeah. What about you? You been playing anything else this week?
I played one other thing. So on the recommendation of, I think it was Based News back on my streams, I started playing SIGNALIS, which is a like early 3D fixed camera style survival horror.
Yeah, this is the one in the sort of spaceship sort of environment. Very dark.
It's very dark. I think it's an underground prison. Or it might just be a metaphor. I don't know.
Yes, female playable character.
Yeah, you're sort of a robot android type thing, and your companion, the other person on the ship, has vanished. So you go out into the snow to look for them, but then you find a big hole in the ground, and you climb down the big hole in the ground, and there's a hole in the hole. So you go through the hole into the hole, and you wander around like kind of looks like some kind of weird prison colony.
Yes.
And then there's another hole to jump through, and layers and layers of depth. One of the holes gave me real Silent Hill 4 vibes.
Yeah.
Like the first time you go through the hole in the laundry room, I think it is, or the bathroom. And it's just like, okay. The world this seems to exist in is frankly horrible. Like, no, and I feel like some of it's trying to play into the whole gaminess of it, and certainly the like 90s, 2000s, early 3D video gameness of it. Of no one should be carrying more than 6 items because that's very that implies personal property, and you shouldn't need more property than that.
So here's the thing. It used to be even worse, the carrying capacity. What it is now is after the developer apologized, but was like, and updated it, but was like, yeah, but that is my vision, though. You shouldn't be able to carry fucking anything. You should have to put things down and go ferry back and get them. It's like, yeah, but that's just not convenient.
Yeah. I mean, the 6 seems fine. I've only been marginally inconvenienced by it. Save rooms aren't super far away. I think my main problem I'm gonna find is, like, how I will want to go about things, because obviously, you've got your gun.
Yes.
And then you've got ammo for the gun.
Yes.
Because you want to carry some spare ammo for the gun, right?
Yes.
Then you've got the the single melee weapon, which are fucking disposable electro batons.
Yes.
I have not used one yet, but what future is this that you're just like, yeah, that was it, that was enough.
I mean, look, we're currently living in the world where, like, people will use disposable vapes once.
I know, that disgusts
like,
me.
Yeah, it really, disposable taser batons don't feel that far-fetched.
I guess. The enemies are sinister in a, like, classic cartoon kind of way. In that, yes, I walked past this body earlier and it was completely inert. Now it has slightly moved and has a weird glitching slightly to its texture. I know you're going to come launch at me as soon as I walk past.
Yeah, but it hasn't done it yet, though.
Yeah, but I know you're gonna. I know you have become active. And it's like that whole, I can see which part of this scene is going to move because it's a very different, slightly different colour. But also, that doesn't stop it being any more sinister because I know this thing is gonna fucking launch at me with usually a cleaver. And occasionally I'll walk past one and there's like one in the kitchen that's just chopping the same random bit of meat while there's some weird intestine thing breathing in the sink, and it's like, this is most peculiar. From what I can see, most people seem to be able to finish it in about 20 hours, so yeah, I will keep going. I have done an stream on it. I will do probably some more. I'll come back to it this week. But yeah, enjoying it so far. It's giving me a chance to practice my German, because a lot of the things are written in German. So it's been like, yay, I'm learning things, and also trying to work them out for myself occasionally. So apologies to anyone in chat who's been like, your pronunciation's a bit shit. There you go. Yeah, really enjoying SIGNALIS so far, and yeah, it's very reasonably priced for a modern game that seems to have that level of polish to it, and very much captures that whole sort of early 3D survival horror.
Yeah.
Even though it was kind enough to be like, hey, you can have tank controls, but you don't have to. And I naturally said, fuck off tank controls. They are the worst. I hated them at the time, and I hate them now. What have you played anything else?
No, that's it for stuff I can talk about having played this week.
Well then.
Time for this. Oh, I don't know if you've seen this. You've seen this? There's
what's that?
there's a art exhibition going on. They're doing a video game and famous artists exhibition.
Okay.
I saw the main headline one. They got Pokemon and Van Gogh.
Oh, Pokémon Go.
Yeah, Pokemon Go. But I got the little list here of some of the other things they got going on. Let's see what else they got showing. They've got a Picasso style Katamari Damacy.
Ooh, yeah. So it's just like a lot of cans of soup rolled up together.
Yeah, just sort of very, mushed in together. We got Salvador Dali Guitar Hero.
I love how that apple is sort of playing a melting guitar.
That guitar sure is melting abstractly.
Yeah.
We've got Rembrandt Ratchet and Clank. That's
yeah.
That's
pretty nuts and bolts.
and the piece de resistance. Andy Gears of Warhol.
The chainsaw, they're big, they're burly, they're in panels of different colours.
That man is very angry at that can of soup.
Soon my plan to take over the world and replace everybody's minds with pudding will be complete.
Not so fast.
Oh, hang on, let me get my glasses. What do you think you're doing here? Isn't it past your bedtime?
No, it's me, Super Kid, and I'm here to stop you.
You're here to stop me?
Yes.
What are you, 7?
7 3/4.
Right, yeah, and how did you even get into my secret lair? I'm about to turn all the adults' minds into pudding.
I mean, super strength definitely helped.
Super strength?
Yes, I kicked the door down and the door may have, knocked over a series of people. I know they're steel reinforced, but I just sort of, Gave it a tap.
And that's that smoking hole in the wall over there in the shape of a door.
Yes, it is.
And all my guards looking very groggy.
Yes.
But in no way seriously injured somehow.
In no way seriously injured.
Well, you'll
Only
never
knocked
stop
out.
me. All I have to do is flick this switch, which I will do.
No.
No. Oh, wow, you are really,
No.
really rather. Oh,
No. Stop
ow,
it.
That's terribly sore.
Stop.
I can't even swear. I'm so cross. Oh,
No, that'll be the anti-profanity powers.
oh, curse you, super kids.
May I suggest fiddlesticks? It works quite well.
Criminy! Oh, I guess I'm going to prison now. Foiled again, drat and dagnammit.
Oh no, you're not going to prison. I've got laser eyes.
Fiddlesticks. So, what have you put in your eyes? What have you looked at?
Well, in terms of stuff I can talk about having watched, support the WGA strikes and the SAG-AFTRA
100%.
strikes. I've been continuing to chip away at One Piece a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Not been making hugely fast progress on that because getting through One Piece, I've had other things going on that have gotten in the way, but I think I've met most of the initial cast of characters that are going to be the main
Straw
crew
Hat
for a little
Gang.
bit. Yeah, the Straw Hats. I know there's at least a couple more characters at some point coming, but I think this is our little starting group. And I really like them. I really enjoy this. I talked, I think, when I was first talking about having started watching the One Piece anime, about the fact that it has the vibe of a D&D campaign. And I feel like that's accurate, but the more of it I've watched, the more I feel like it feels like a D&D campaign that's the group kind of knows they want this to be their group's campaign for the next 10 years. And they're in no rush to find out what the main plot is and get there. They're doing the we're going to start with a little character arc about you, and then we're going to do an arc that's your sort of introductory arc, and we're going to do an arc that's sort of your introductory arc, and then we're going to start introducing some of the world. And it feels like it's a bunch of strung together, not one-shots, but little mini campaigns that are hey, for the next 2 months, this is going to be our little campaign, and then we'll sort of wrap that up, and we'll take a couple of weeks to rest, and for the DM to work out what they're doing next, and then here's our next little arc. And it feels like it's really built out of these little self-contained stories that are designed to be consumed as their own little chunks of adventure.
Yeah.
And that has made the prospect of 1,000 episodes of this less overwhelming.
Yeah.
In that it does lend itself to being, hey, here's just another 10 to 15 episode little mini arc. And you're gonna have a natural conclusion and a natural place where you could rest here and not feel like you're stopping in the middle of something. And then we're gonna tell another little story, and I'm digging it so far. I am maybe, I think 50-ish episodes in.
I mean, that's a healthy number of episodes to
Yeah,
be
that's
already.
a 20th of the way through One Piece, and I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you watched this week?
It's not been a very heavy watch as far as of things I can talk about.
Yeah.
But I watched a 50-minute documentary, I guess, called The Rise and Fall of the Clock Tower franchise on the Tango Mushi channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
So this is the, I guess, early survival horror that started point and click and then went 3D and then got less good as it went along. It seems like, as far as I can tell, the first one was the best one, generally speaking, although one would have to look for a decent fan translation, because I don't know if the first one ever officially came here. It's a franchise I've seen screenshots from a lot, with the whole scissor man chasing a child around a mansion.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it was nice to get a bit more understanding about the franchise as a whole, because it seemed like a really interesting series that I've just never got round to trying any of.
Yeah.
It was a good pulling apart. It was an interesting look at the series as a whole, and including that, and it managed to cover that whole thing of, yeah, I'm definitely not going to play that third one, but it was interesting to know that how plot do and how things were wrapped up and moved up, even though the original creator left after the second one feeling that the story they wanted to tell had been told.
One of those.
Even though that was a financial failure. Have you watched anything else?
I watched a couple of things I can mention. I watched I Wanna Race with Blind Driver Assist by Steve Saylor on YouTube.
Oh, is that with you?
Yeah, so this is about a Forza Motorsport feature or set of features that's coming to that game when it releases in October. This is one of those technical sim racer type games. Your sort of Gran Turismo style, I'm going to tweak the torque and swap out my wheels for something with X amount more grip, and one of those. But it's got a bunch
proper
of
simulator.
Yeah, but it's got a bunch of really promising accessibility stuff. Some of it is stuff that I'm really glad to see them putting in a sim racing game, such as the rewind feature from Forza Horizons, the more arcadey one, where you can hold down the Y button for a few seconds to just rewind your race and start from a few seconds back, and that there's no punishment for doing that, which, as someone who's inconsistent in coordination, fucking love that. But this video was largely about Steve Saylor, who is a blind gamer, playing around with these new blind driving assists that use a bunch of audio cues to tell you what turns are coming up, where you are in the road, how steep the turn is, how you are positioned on the track, whether you're sort of entering the turn at the apex or leaving the turn. And it was a really interesting video from the perspective of, much like racing sims themselves, it was a little overwhelming for him initially because there was just so much happening.
Yeah, because you've got game music and the vehicle audio, and then you've got all the assist audio over the top of that.
Yes, and he initially was just everything on, everything at full, and was this is a lot. And then toned it back a bit and picked and choose and tweaked some things around and was yeah, this is a super helpful, super interesting feature.
I want to win.
Yeah, and he managed to come first place in a race, and yeah, it's interesting that this set of accessibility features seems really robust, but it seems like it's going to have a similar a curve to getting into it as the technical aspects of the racing sim itself. And that is an interesting symmetry, and I think it is a really good example of that thing that we talk about, that accessibility doesn't always mean make thing easier.
Yes. And
that you can have a game that is all about, we're going to give you every fucking tool in the toolbox, and we don't care if it's a little overwhelming. We're if you play around and commit to playing around with our toolset, you are going to find options that work for you.
Yeah.
And having, being hey, it's okay to have that same approach, but with a tool set that's designed for a group with this disability. And I'm that's interesting, and I'm super curious about it. So, yeah, that was a neat video. I recommend going and watching it.
I really liked how he was talking towards the end about how, this isn't going to win you the game. This isn't going to tell you exactly what you need to do, but it is going to give you the tools to be able to distinguish what you need to be doing when you need to think about braking, even if you're not, you don't have to take that if you're going to try and do things like overtaking and stuff.
Yeah.
How you can work with that and beyond level, I guess it's equity rather than, is it equality? I don't know.
Yeah,
it feels more equity based.
Yeah. The way he put it that I think works well is initially he was using those tools and trying to do exactly what they were telling him to do, before having that moment of clicking and going, this is telling me, on paper, this is, the idea, this is supposedly the ideal information. This is the, run-of-the-mill, on paper, this is what you should do. But much like a sighted player will sometimes, ignore the driving line and take a corner a bit close and go, I think I can handle not spinning out doing that. I think I can make it work.
Yeah.
It's finding those moments of, this is telling me what all that information is. I think I know better. I'm gonna use that information to make the risky choice.
Yeah. And also with things like a driving line, it's not going to tell you where the best position is to overtake, because that's not really what it's for.
No, the driving line is in perfect conditions on a road just by yourself, this would be on paper what to do, but, you know, this is a race. You gotta make your own path.
Yeah.
You gotta go for it.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. And the other one I watched, that you were, I think you were around for most of it, or some of this, was, an old Digital Foundry video from about 2 years ago called Can 4K DLSS Really Work on the Next Gen Switch? This is about a 2-year-old video about how DLSS upscaling technology works and worked at the time, and what its limitations are, and on something's, you know, the tech that was available at the time, could a reasonably priced mobile device use upscaling to get the kind of performance increase that people were, at the time, theorizing would come from a Switch successor? And given that a bunch of rumours about Switch successor stuff have been coming out from very credible outlets that not even line up with what Digital Foundry was looking at 2 years ago, considerably surpass what they were looking at 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a nice look back on how that tech works, and, like, a couple of years ago, where were we at with what the Switch 2 might end up looking like? It was a nice little glimpse through time. But yeah, I think that's the main things I watched this week that I can talk about.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
I watched a bunch of videos on the Botbender Orange channel on YouTube, and this is fan transformations or fan combinations for Transformers figures. So this sort of came up because I was looking for something else entirely. There's been a whole bunch of Junkion Transformers in the last year or two. They have this beautiful, like, slightly Mad Max aesthetic to them. I'm not really a big fan of cars of most kind of toys. Of all the Transformers, I've usually avoided things like cars and trucks, generally, unless they have a particularly ridiculous paint job. Because I do love the colours that make it look like a bowling alley carpet. But somebody had pointed out that there was, like, oh yeah, we released all the Junkions, and by the way, here's a way you can, like, put them all together to make Junkosaurus, which is like a dinosaur thing. And a few people have said, like, it feels a bit like tacked on later on.
Yeah.
Like, this was never necessarily the idea, but this is certainly a thing you could do with it. And the few people who've made it, a lot of people seem to agree that it doesn't hold together very well. It doesn't, like, stand up on its own, especially not, like, the way it was posed.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people were also kind of upset that you need two of one of the figures that makes up its arm. Like, most people aren't going to be doing that. Like, weirdly, I have recently encountered a lot of Transformers fans who will buy, like, 3 of everything. Because of just, well, things like this, weird fan transformations.
Yeah.
Like, I've had the Refractor 3-piece kit a while.
Yeah.
Because I was never going to buy the original, or the Siege version where it's like, buy 3 of the same figure, and they'll kind of look like the thing. It's like, no, I want the one that has all the extra accessories so it looks like a proper camera. But the Junkions is like, well, I've got them. It would be nice to try and stick them together. How will I learn to do this? And I didn't end up making the one that had been sort of put out as the, hey, it's the combiner you can do with the Junkions. It was like a, hey, this is something I've done with most of the Junkions. So I built it. It's axle grease, tow line, scrap hook, and crash bar together without Trashmaster in this, like, just giant mech. It's a good combiner. It holds together well. It stands up on my shelf well nicely.
Yay.
And yeah, it was a fun build, even if it was a little bit complicated and occasionally involved watching, like, half-speed videos to learn this thing. But it's been quite nice going, like, oh yeah, like, what was it? I got a bot that was a repaint of something from a while back that came with one of my Shattered Glass figures. I was like, it feels a bit not good. Like, you can take it apart and basically turn it into a gun or a sword or like big rocket launchers for Shattered Glass Prowl, but it looks kind of bad. And then on this channel they were like, yeah, if you've got 2 of those, I don't, I've only got 1. you can make this cool. You can make Astro Train. You know my favorite Astro Train. The Siege Astro Train. You can make it look like just this fucking ridiculous thing. It's like, cool. I don't have two of them, but I do have one of those, and I can put it at a particular angle so that you only need to do one because it does the whole thing on one side. It's like, cool. Astro Train was already big enough. Now it's just ridiculous, and yes, just ridiculous and fun. It's been nice to just faff around with a lot of my Transformers and just go, yeah, I've got different ways of doing the thing. So it's been like a nice little journey of discovery.
I like the idea of those sort of junk builds. It reminds me of a thing I've wanted to do for a while, and eventually I'll find time to do, which is to dig out my box of spare bits that came in Gundam kits and weren't needed for anything.
Oh, you're going to just kit bash something?
Yeah, just sit and try and kit bash something.
Yeah.
And work out if I can make something out of the pieces, the many loose pieces I've got.
Hell yeah.
I feel like it's got to be doable. I'm curious.
I feel like it's going to be a creature made largely of hands and spare guns.
I mean, maybe. We'll see.
That's fine.
You watched anything else this week?
That's pretty much it.
Well then.
Time for this. Hey Laura.
Yes?
We've got a new sponsor.
Tell me about our new sponsor.
Well, do you have a phone?
I do have a phone.
I see, there it is. This is fun. This is very shiny. This is a very shiny new phone.
Yeah.
You've had that, a couple of months?
Couple of months, maybe.
Couple of months. Well, it's obviously time for an upgrade, right?
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You want the new Y-phone?
Do I?
The new iPhone 15.
What?
It's lighter.
Okay.
It's brighter.
Yeah.
It's bigger.
Okay.
It folds 8 times. And if you've ever tried to fold a piece of paper, you'll know how super technological that is.
I don't know why I would need it to fold that many times.
So that you can fit it in your shoe.
Okay.
Or up your nose.
Okay.
Behind your ear.
Sure.
In the dreams of a small child.
I don't need to hide my phone there.
The iPhone 15 is available now, and it's only 4 times the price of the last one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And you can apparently fold it up so small you'll never find it again.
That's not a feature.
It is a feature.
It's a feature of you trying to sell me that phone again when I lose it.
Well, what if you just fold it up enough that you use it as an earphone, like an earbud, and then you unfold it again when you need to be able to see the screen?
I don't want to lose my phone in my ear.
Well, it doesn't matter anyway, because we've just been sponsored by the new iPhone 16 Plus.
Ooh!
And that is 8 times the price of the last one that you lost down the back of the couch, and I think we're going to have to pay for because we lost the test model.
It's fine. We'll give them back nothing and tell them it's the test model.
You're a fucking genius.
I know, right?
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, I've been working on money-making ventures.
Good.
Right?
I like money.
Yeah, I love money. Money's great. You know what else I love, aside from money?
More money.
More money. Well, you know what else?
Stock options.
I mean, well, that too.
Shares.
Well, yeah, I got something in
Bonuses.
mind. I mean, I got something in mind that is not those.
A yacht.
Well, I'm just gonna chime in with this one. I enjoy when people play our game at the expense of all other games. Like, they have no time in their life to play other games.
Yeah.
Because the more time they spend playing our game, the more addicted they'll get, the more they'll buy the loot boxes.
Yeah, and until such time as we have managed to absorb the entire rest of the industry, that is going to be the best thing.
So, I've been working on something that will make us money and get people to play Call of Duty longer so that they spend more money in it. It's more money plus more money.
I like more money.
Right. So, here's the plan. We charge customers just a little fee, but a little fee every time they install our game.
Right.
And, the first time, when they buy the game, we make the game like $1 cheaper, but we charge them $1 to install the game,
Right,
so that, they don't even think about it.
Right.
But what I think that's going to create is this idea that, you shouldn't uninstall the game to make space for other things you want to play.
Right.
Because then you're going to have to pay money to reinstall it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
either they pay to to install it multiple times, or they never uninstall it and play Call of Duty forever.
Oh, I was on that Why, the social network.
Oh,
the
yeah,
good one,
yeah.
and everyone's like, why did the name change?
Yeah.
Because my buddy said so, that's why. Anyway, so I saw a thing on there recently, and there was like a capture you had to do in order to uninstall software from your system.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
we add that as well? So, are you authorizing yourself to remove this? Are you sure? Because this is going to cost you money. This is a protection for you, so you're aware of the situation, and you have to complete the capture, and then we make the capture completely impossible for a human being to do by maybe having it not work full stop.
Then you can pay money to skip that, to then pay money to reinstall it.
You are a fucking genius.
I know.
So, what have you been listening to? What has gone in your ears?
I listened to a couple of new bits of music. Let me find what I've been listening to. I listened to a track called Nervous System by Candy Carpenter, which is a sort of upbeat, bouncy femme pop track about physical anxiety and mental health struggles, and the way I put it here was trying to hold your nervous flesh self together.
Uh-huh.
It's very, I am a creature running on constant fight or flight, and that is not what my physical form was designed to handle. It's a good track, and it does that thing I always enjoy in music, where it's like, we've deliberately done a bit of contrast between the topic and the tone of the music for some interesting texture. I also listened to one other track this week I hadn't listened to before. It's called I'm Not Laughing Anymore, by Left at London.
Oh, I know them.
Yeah, so this is like a storytelling track, in that, like, there are sections of this that are not sung, that are being delivered as narrative, but they've got the pacing of a joke. And I think that is deliberate in that, I'm gonna have to sort of do a lead into this. It's got quite a funky beat, but it is telling the story of someone who turns up at a bar and sees their therapist there a couple of drinks deep, and they're having a bad day, so they go and talk to their therapist, who is not at work at the moment. And their therapist fairly establishes a boundary and is like, this is not work time, I need to not engage with you right now. And the sort of events that follow that. It is kind of heavy in tone, but it's one of the few times I think that, like, people throw around the term dark comedy when they just want to be like, I'm being a dick being edgy. This is like quite a heavy-hitting narrative track that lands on a punchline. And I think it is one of the few times a punchline like this is like, you know what, actually, you delivered that very well, and it's bittersweet, but like, it's really interesting use of form, and of using, like, the sung segments to, like, carry the energy that helps deliver where the joke lands. It's a really interesting use of music as art form, and one that is not going to be for everyone, but that I really appreciated creatively. I don't know many things comparable to it. So those are some things I listened to this week.
Ooh.
What about you?
Well, we listened to some chill hop while we were gaming over the weekend.
Yeah.
Listened to a couple of mixes on the Mixhound channel. Chill Step Mix 2023 Yellow Heart emoji. They're never particularly interestingly named, but they're good, and it was nice to listen to some new Chill Step. And Chill Step Mix 2009, 2 hours. Looks like it's in a wood. This was the one with the maze and the little red riding hood.
Oh, the one
image that kept shaking, and you were like, it is shaking.
Yes.
The image is definitely not paused.
Yeah, it was shaking, but not enough that it was obvious, but enough that, like, it kept catching and my brain was confused.
I know. And we also listened to a mix called Ocean. Chill Step Mix 2021, 3 hours on the Kirin YouTube channel. Yeah, it was nice to listen to some chill hop while
Nice
just
chill background
getting
music
on
while
with
we
it.
gamed.
Yes, because we've listened to like the Worms soundtrack a lot. So
Yes, we have.
You can only play so much Hogs of War to an original soundtrack before that wears off. I have listened to a whole bunch of Magnolia Park. So I was watching a video this morning, and it was Jur or Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Talking, basically it was stitched with someone going like, hey, where is all the new rock music? And just like, well, there's a lot of it, and I'm just going to name a bunch off the top of my head, so people are still making it.
Yeah, you just
need to go out and find it. The first name I picked randomly out of the list was Magnolia Park. It's got real early 2000s pop punk vibes. I was like, this sounds a lot like this, or this, or this, or this, or this. But it's more modern, so that is worth an try. Yeah, it has that bounce, that slightly punky, but very, like American California. I'm angry, but I don't have a lot necessarily to be angry about. Or I'm just a bit sad, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to sing about it in a very upbeat manner. One thing that's, like, been an interesting thread through a lot of their tracks is they'll go from like rock drums into trap drums. There'll be like an occasional like a little drop where they'll break from like just a pop punk track. The drums will go suddenly like the trap hi-hats, and then like there'll be like a slightly more electronic vibe to it for like a few bars, and then it'll just bounce back. It's good 3-minute pop punk if that's what you want to listen to. And I will listen to more of it. I've not had a chance to listen to a huge amount, but I've been enjoying it so far. So and I will probably listen to yet more of that video from Jer to see like who else is good to listen to at the moment.
Nice.
Because I'm looking for new music. I realise I'm stagnating. And I'm 43, so I don't want to be doing what we were talking about last week. We're just like, yes, only the music I listen to between the ages of 13 and 25 is good music.
It's the reason why I try and find a couple of interesting pieces of music per week to come talk about on this show. It's a good excuse for me to, like, listen to some things I haven't heard before.
Yeah.
And to have new things where I'm like, yeah, that one was interesting.
I don't have Spotify, so I think for me it's a little bit harder to do that kind of thing. And Bandcamp just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to go somewhere where it pays their artists.
Yes. For all of the problems with Spotify, it sure does do a good job of, here's what you already listen to, try some new things.
Right.
It's a good way of finding new artists that you can then go purchase their albums elsewhere so they actually get decent money.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that is things that I've listened to this week.
Well then, time for this.
I've done it. It finally works. It finally works. All of the test data, it came up perfectly.
Seriously?
Absolutely. We have finally managed to revive someone who was backed up on a hard drive. We can bring them back to life in a computer. Their whole personality revived within the computer. You know that test data I've been using of myself?
Oh, yes,
Had a lovely conversation with myself just now. It's going wonderfully.
Oh,
we're ready to, we can pull all of those people who have been paying to keep us in storage for years. We can pull them all out. One question though.
Yes.
You know the box with all the cables in it. I need a USB-E cable.
Oh.
Yeah, because most of them are they're quite old.
The box of cables that no one ever uses.
Well, I mean, yes, but it was
box,
largely for moments like this.
The box that's been labelled, please someone get rid of this, no one's using these, why are these here?
Yes, but it just... Okay, well, do you have a USB-E cable anywhere?
I threw out the box. I threw out the box of cables.
When? Was this...
Yesterday.
Yeah, oh...
It was bin day.
It was bin day yesterday, yes, and yes, those will be atomized by now. Janice? Janice, is that you? From the Tinders?
Oh, hi.
Oh, you look just like your profile picture.
I suppose you do too.
Yes, should we get some drinks and maybe some...
I would very much like to get some drinks.
I'll get water. What can I get you?
Whatever the strongest thing they have, double it.
Water and a double Goldschlager.
So, your profile.
Yes.
Um,
Outgoing, sporty, that's me.
yeah, I can see that. You did have...
Strong swimmer.
Yeah, yes, you did have that picture. I mean, all of the pictures on your profile were, you and the headless torso of a human.
Oh, everyone wants the headless torso. Oh, God, I can't believe this is happening again.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, spend one summer with your friend Steve. Yeah, hang out on
your
the
friend
boat.
Your friend Steve put a fish hook through your mouth.
I mean, it was a bit. It was a whole bit. It was, we were young. I was still in college, and
well, look, I just none of your photos were just you. And how do you even use a phone? I'm really curious.
Well, it's a flipper phone. Do you know what I want to see more?
What do you want to see more of?
Social justice warriors.
Social justice warriors?
Yeah.
All right, Larry. All right, Barry. How you doing?
No, I'm glad the heat has broken a little bit, to be honest.
Oh God, same. It's been wild.
Yeah. You doing all right?
Doing all right. I've been second-hand annoyed on some people's behalf. Today. I've been. There's been a long time problem, but I've seen it come up a couple of times today. I've been seen some people in the accessibility space who've been invited to do some speaking engagements at events that charge pretty big money for tickets. Charge people to attend.
Yeah, right.
Not offering any kind of payment to speakers.
Right.
And you see this happen sometimes, but specifically you see it happen a lot with minority creators or minority background people being asked to, say, hey, can you educate us on what's going on? Yeah. No, we will not be giving you a portion of the money. We are charging people to listen to you.
Yeah.
And it's real cheeky, because a lot of the time it's people trying to... It's the old exposure argument. It's trying to lever exposure. It's trying to go, well, we recognise that you're trying to see a platform, so you'll do unpaid work for us. You don't worry about the fact we're making money off it.
Yeah.
It's just really frustrating to see it. That this still is a trend that hasn't died off yet.
Yeah. Well, I know the thing. I've got a couple of friends who are trans women, and recently one of them saying that they're just a friend of theirs was like, oh, I've got this queer group at work, and I wondered if you'd both be willing to appear for us. And there wasn't any sort of explanations. Like, well, she's like, what do you want exactly? Especially since one of those couples does a lot of general speaking engagements. Goes around the world and talks about things like that. It's like, is that the sort of thing you're expecting? Because you know that this is the sort of work that they do, or what? And then it seemed very unclear and generally just. But it's weird, even when people are supposed to be friends. It's like, oh well, there isn't any budget for this. We just like come and talk to our queer group.
And look, I'm not opposed to the occasional unpaid, speaking engagement sort of thing for
especially for like charities and
or just for the right reasons. Sometimes I do, but it's very specifically a different thing when it's like
a corporate.
It's like we will be selling tickets. People will be paying money to come and see. No, we will not so much as cover your transport to get there, let alone actually pay you for your time. It's.
Come to our convention, appear, speak, give us a lot of unpaid labour.
Exactly, and the amount of these things that run off unpaid labour is ridiculous, and we need to normalise the idea that it's, if you can afford to rent the space you're hosting the event in and, I don't know, provide catering or security or whatever other things you're doing, and then you turn around and say, oh, we don't have a budget for speakers. You can't afford to have speakers if you haven't budgeted for speakers. But you wouldn't expect any other professional involved in that event happening to do their labour for no work.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, frequently, you want to speak about your experiences in your minority community? Well, do it for the passion.
Yeah, the exposure.
Yeah.
This is terrible, mate. Fancy a hug?
Oh, yeah.
Good hug, mate, good hug.
Yuck.
Alright, I can go and put the kettle on.
Oh, sounds like a plan.
Nice.
So, Laura,
Yes.
you do things. Sometimes you can talk about those things.
I do stuff, and sometimes I can talk about that
Tell us
stuff.
about the places where people can hear about the things that you talk about that isn't this place.
I mean, Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills. I think I said them in a different order this week. Oh, I know, right? Blue Sky, Mastodon, just Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. This week there will be an episode of Accessibility going up that is about, 5-day early premium edition early access FOMO, get it now, pay extra, go, as a monetization strategy for video games and why that's not particularly accessible. So look forward to that this week. I think that's the big one. What about you? Where can you be found on the internet?
Well, if you are someone who wants early access to Queer and Pleasant Strangers, I've got a Patreon.
I mean, look, that's different. That's different.
It's freely available to everyone, eventually.
Yeah.
But if you want to help support me a little bit more, anyway, that Patreon is patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. For as little as $1 a month, you can help me justify the exhaustion and the brain. I also have a link tree. It's linktree.ee/janiac, JANEIAC. You can find t-shirts, music, all the sorts of things that I like to do, all the places I can be found at the moment, not nearly as many as you. Those are all the things. Laura,
Yes.
please sing us out, please, darling.
Until next time, be a stranger.